And I just think back to myself before I started the channel going, I shouldn't do this channel. I'm no one. No one's going to care about what I have to say.
What do you say then the value in doing the reaction videos are for other people, like consuming it? Because it's one of the things that you even mentioned earlier, like people being like, oh, that's cringy. What advice then would you give to anyone that wants to start on YouTube?
If you have these 5 things, it'll be a success.
I guess the first question then, as always, is how did you get started in music?
In music, gosh, that is going back. I think I once saw a drummer on TV. I just saw some dude sitting behind what looks like 80 drums and cymbals. I knew exactly what he was doing and it sounded really cool. And it's like, how do I do that? And I asked my parents, can I be a drummer? And they went, no, you can learn piano. So I learned piano. I was like, okay, but I liked music. I really enjoyed it. And I did more of that. And eventually, I got like a lifetime later when I was about 13. I was like, they're doing drum lessons nearby. Can I learn? And they went, fine. And then I just went full tilt into that. I wanted to be a drummer.
Can you still play piano?
Barely. I mean, basic stuff. I can play like Mission Impossible theme tune and some other basic things. But it was very handy to learn the fundamentals of music and reading music, which you do use some of depending on what the kind of drumming you do later on. But yeah, in my teens, I then eventually went to my first gig. I saw Green Day. And I realized that's their job. They're just having fun on stage. That's a profession. And then it was just blinders on. I want to be a rock star. How do I make that happen? And spent most of my life since then trying to do stuff that's in the rock universe. I'm still doing that, unless I'm not on stage anymore. But I spent most of my 20s trying to be a rock star.
A touring musician.
Yeah.
Were you able to make money doing that in your 20s?
No. And in fact, that's part of the reason that I ended up not continuing on. I spent about a decade from when I was 18 onwards, really trying to make a career out of doing it. And the thing is, you can, if you're a drummer, for example, you could become a session drummer, make a career out of that. You could be a drum teacher. You could play in wedding bands. There are ways to earn some money to it. But I wanted to do original music. And that's really difficult because you have to build enough of an audience who cares about your original music to then want to come to see gigs and the rest. So I spent a while doing that. Mostly the band would get whichever band happened to be. And I was in 5 bands at one point because I was like, one of these has to work. I'm going to be a musician. I was in a hip hop band and a heavy rock band and a ska band. And we might get £30 for a gig for all of us, which might cover petrol to the next gig if we're on tour. So there wasn't really a lot of that. But then the hip hop band might occasionally would take over a night in London, do like DJing and a live set. And we could get like £800 for the whole thing. And then we can split. So that was starting to work, but it was sporadic. It's just actually just really hard. To earn money as a musician. So eventually I went, I'd like to buy a house one day. I was hitting like 28 years old. Or I'd like to, get married and go on nice holidays. And what else could I do that's creative and interesting? And I went into engineering and kind of went away from music for a bit. And almost as a survival technique, because it's what I always wanted to do was music. I was like, I can't do this and live a life that I want to do comfortably. So I kind of didn't do anything in the music scene for a few years until the YouTube channel. And now I'm like fully embedded back into it. It's amazing.
You're still drumming, right?
Yeah, but increasingly or decreasingly as often. Because now I'm a dad of 2 and I've got a day job and I've got the YouTube channel and I'm trying to, I don't know, see friends or do other, go to gigs and things. So I don't have time, but I should, but it's just sat behind me most of the time. So every once in a while I'll be like, I'm gonna play some drums. And I play them. I'm like, this is amazing. I should do this more. And then I don't.
We saw that you were in the London Olympics as one of the first drummers.
Yes.
What was the deal with that?
So yeah, around, I guess a year or 2 before the 2012 Olympics, a friend of mine messaged me saying they're looking for auditions or looking for people to audition to be a drummer in the Olympic opening ceremony. I'm like, that sounds fun. I play drums. Let's do that. They're looking for 1,000 drummers. And I was like, great. That sounds amazing. I probably won't get in because it's auditions, but I've always enjoyed the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. There's huge spectacles. I'm like, that would be an amazing experience. Let's go try and do that. And then quickly realized they were looking for 1,000 people who had a rhythm. You didn't necessarily have to be a drummer. The first audition, we were just dancing. Like, can you dance?
Was it in person?
Yeah, it was in person. We were in some warehouse in East London somewhere or some like dance studio area. I'm just like dancing around, be like, I thought I was auditioning for drumming, but here I am dancing to Beyonce. Okay. And clearly went, you've got enough rhythm, you're fine. And then, yeah, I was one of the 1,000 drummers. There was something like 20 rehearsals that were like 1 to 2 hours long because it's a huge orchestration. And so I had my own drum, and the drumsticks were literally tennis balls on drumsticks because it was for spectacle largely.
Yeah.
But it was a wild experience to be on the inside of a performance that was for 1 billion people watching. And the weirdest moment in my head was, you watch these things on TV going like, this is going to go great. It's a huge spectacle. There's lots of professional people doing it. And then suddenly I'm there going, I'm the professional. Like this could go horribly wrong. We have no idea. It was counting down to the go time. I'm like, this could be the worst opening ceremony of all time. And I'll be in it. We have no idea. Thankfully, everything went fine. But
did you see anything that went wrong that other people wouldn't have noticed?
no, not an hour.
Were
Thankfully,
you tempted to just do your own fucking thing?
Oh, I was tempted to do all kinds of things. But like I was in band still at the time, and I was like, well, I could like rip open my shirt and have like my band's t-shirt on. I'm like, no, there's bigger things than like me promoting my band. So I just did the role, because you really care about how the whole thing comes across. It was a massive thing, but it was great crack.
With starting the YouTube channel then, was that as well as being a engineer? Is that what you said, software engineer?
Yes, yeah, software engineer. Yeah, it was in addition to that. So I started it in May of 2021. So it was kind of still within that COVID-y times where you're seeing and living more of a life online. And I've been making YouTube videos for a very long time, but not in any like serious kind of way until really shortly before that channel. Because I'd be in bands touring and I'd film our shenanigans on tour, make a tour diary, put that on YouTube. No one would watch it, but I'd enjoy making it. So I've always had in my mind, I enjoy making videos of things and having some fun. I enjoy music. And I'd seen a couple of reaction channels popping up, and it's like, this really, are we at this point where to watch people watching stuff? I think Gogglebox had been on for a bit. I'm like, that's mad. But then I started watching a couple of them and really enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But even then, I didn't think it was something that I could do, because the videos I was seeing was listening to Rage Against the Machine for the first time. I'm like, that's amazing. I wonder what that is like, because I don't remember. It was 20 years since I'd listened to them. But I've been loving rock music for fucking ever. So like, I've heard all of the songs. I can't do this. I like react to Metallica. I know all their songs. But then my brother showed me, we'll find new rock songs. We'll show each other our favorite new songs. And he showed me this song called Hypa Hypa by Electric Callboy in my living room. And it blew my mind. And I just had the most viscerally exciting experience. And one of my first thoughts after the song ended was, I'm so sad that I don't have footage of what that was like to look back on in future. And that was kind of the catalyst to go, right, I have a million reasons not to do this channel that I think would be fun, that I'd really enjoy and get stuck back into music, including like reaction channels are cringe. My friends will think I'm cringe. Oh, you got a YouTube channel talking about music. Like, ugh, so many reasons not to do it. And it's like, but I'm going to do it because I think it'll be fun. And I personally would love the idea of capturing the first time I'm hearing maybe a future favorite band or favorite song of mine, and having a background in drums and bass and guitar and being in all the bands I have. Like, actually, I do have an interesting perspective on the techniques involved in doing the songwriting or production. Maybe I can add some value beyond just like, who the fuck cares what Steve thinks of a song? Like, no one, doesn't matter. So I just started doing it for fun, and then it's just kind of grown and grown, and people thankfully have really connected with what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and now it's become like this legitimate piece of the music industry, which is incredibly exciting and fulfilling, and it's great fun.
How quick did that come about? Because I know that the Sleep Token one blew up. Was there anything before that made you think, yeah, this is happening?
That's a good question. I think, so it's gone through various epochs from just starting out. Like, I remember my first video, I reacted to a song called Circle With Me by Spiritbox. And I woke up the next day and it had like 108 views. I'm like, holy shit, that's so many views. This is incredible. I had like 6 subscribers. I'm like, I am off to the race. It was incredible. I've always said, like, if a video gets like 10 views, I'm like, great. Someone has enjoyed something I've done. I still kind of have that mindset, which is, I think, healthy. And then I think a lot of reaction channels, especially in the rock space, you end up going through the same stepping stones. Because once you start, then someone's like, you should check out Nightwish. And someone else like, oh, you need to check out this song by, I don't know, Slipknot, whoever it might be. There's a few ones that everyone then does. You go, oh, okay, great. I guess people want me to check out Nightwish. I've got 2 comments in my video. One says, check out Night Fit. Well, I'll do that. And so I check it out, and then that one gets like 1,000 views. And you're like, oh shit, okay. And then you start going, well, I guess they want more. This other Nightwish song, okay, let's check that out. Or they want, and I started doing whatever it was people were asking for. I'm like, happy to serve. I'll do whatever. And I love all kinds of music. It's not just rock. So I was checking out Aurora, and I was checking out like what's her name? Morissette Amon, and BTS, like things I've just never heard before. This would be interesting. And I was enjoying all of it in different ways because I like everything beyond rock as well. But I was noticing over time that YouTube had no idea what to do with my channel, because it's like, great, you got all these people that love this Aurora video, and then my next video was Slipknot, and they go, I don't know what to do with it. These people don't want those, or maybe some will, and I'd get some crossover. But I was recognizing early on that whatever videos you put out, you're building a future audience. And the algorithms and the inner monkey brain tells you, oh, do the thing that gets the more views and the more likes or shares, whatever it is. Like, that's, people are telling you what they want. And if you do that, and you happen to love that kind of content that you're being kind of encouraged to go down, great. That's rare though. And I was realizing early on that actually I wanted to spend less and less time with videos about BTS and the community that had in particular. They were not the kindest of communities, turns out. And I was like, okay, I need to focus more on what is my first and main love, and that is heavy rock music. And so I think the channel had been going for about a year. And so I was having these big moments of videos booming, and I decided I'm just going to focus on the rock stuff that I love. And I know I'm going to take a year and a half, 2 years maybe of pain, because the monkey brain's going, views are going down. No one wants this. And you can see it. It's played out exactly how I thought it would. Like, the channel's doing this, and then it just starts to taper down. Like, but I'm building a core audience of people that want what I want to talk about. That's the future that I want to exist in. And now it's kind of inflecting back out. So Sleep Token has helped, but mainly in part because I was already doing the odd Sleep Token. I was reacting to their stuff back in the This Place Will Become Your Tomb era. So it established a little bit of an audience or interest in that at that point. But yeah, I mean, and there's a couple of other bands that people just have a fever for. And so those will get their wide appeal in a way. They've got a mass audience. So that will influence views, but don't mistake that for, man, these people just love me. It's like, well, there's going to wax and wane depending on the band or the content. So I've learned, thankfully, to not focus on really views and just like, what is it that I'm enjoying? I'll make videos about that. And that's going to fluctuate. I don't care. Like, as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, that should grow into something that's meaningful long term. And that seems to be what's happened. But I think actually to answer your question, I think in the last year and a half to 2 years, there was some kind of bit of traction that started happening. I think in part because of the podcast element, I started to interview bands, and the Metal Roundup podcast I do with Metal Birb and Drew Fortune. I think that sort of galvanized something in a realm of credibility, or I don't know what it is, but and getting more plugged in with, getting connections with labels and PR firms. I've become much more, I think, useful in the scene, and that sort of helped, I think.
Was there a particular one where you weren't monetized and you thought, this is going to get me there, this is exciting?
Or was that monetized?
Yeah, like, or were you monetized right at the start? Like, you have to hit certain metrics. Was that a big milestone?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yes, I was excited for that possibility, but I also knew full well that I probably wasn't going to make much money, if at all. I mean, now I'm at a point where I am able to monetize most of my videos, which is great because I'm able to reach out to labels and have them whitelisted, or PR companies will whitelist things. But early on, I started this channel genuinely not thinking this is going to make money. Because even though, yes, you can make money on YouTube or online if you build a platform and you get an audience and there's attention, that can translate into income at a certain level. Given that most, if not, well, at this time I started, all of my videos contained copyright material, and I just knew that I cannot monetize, and they're going to claim all of the AdSense for that. So I didn't even go in thinking this would be viable. I thought maybe I'd grow enough of an audience that perhaps I could have some kind of Patreon thing or Twitch or something that might help me to make this financially viable. But I did not think YouTube videos was it. So if any time a video went big, I was never like, oh, I'm like, I'm It's not for a monetary value because I didn't think I'd get that. And today, if I'm checking out a video of a new song from Sleep Token, I'm not getting any monetization off of that. RCA Records will not be whitelisting anything. Sony don't whitelist anything. Universal don't either. If they do, it's by accident. It's not part of their policy. It's other labels that are a bit more, in my opinion, clued into the value of organic word of mouth promotion is essentially what it can be. That the trade-off of, it's not even like they're paying us. It's like they're just not claiming money from something they didn't make anyway. Yeah, so I think smarter labels are getting there. Like, actually, there is a value to us to be all kind of helping each other in some fashion. And so yeah, increasingly, smarter labels are getting involved, and it's that's helping massively.
I wonder who Linkin Park are with. For our event last year, because I mean, it was a charity thing, but we reached out to Linkin Park and just said, can you whitelist the tracks for us? And it was just like instant.
Wow.
I mean, obviously that's coming like directly from the band and their management, so that's probably different, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It was so easy.
it will
that I
depend on all
didn't-
kinds of factors. For a charity gig, I'm sure that also was a factor.
Yeah, I
off you
mean-
go. And yeah, you know, if you know management of a band, they're maybe more likely to be like, yeah, let's get the band's word out there. It might be that labels are maybe more protective of, well, this is our material, we own the master, so we want to get, like, it's depending on the person in the industry, they might have different motivations as to what matters to them. It's the same way that I'm learning over time that PR firms, depending on what they're doing for particular management or label, they may or may not care about an interview like this that helps a band to promote their album versus their tour. It kind of depends on what their, I think, metrics that they're paid to increase is. So as with any industry, there's all kinds of aspects that certain disciplines and professions care about. But I'm, you know, certainly, I guess, as a commentator of the music scene, I'm like, everyone can be helped. Like, all I'm interested in ultimately is having a larger number of people experience the joy of rock music, because that's what I've loved in life. And like, how do we get more people to do that?
If you're enjoying this podcast on Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. Amazingly, only 2.5% of all the people that regularly listen to our podcast have given us a rating. If you do that, it helps us hugely, and we'll get more and better guests. So give us a rating and we'll get back to it. As you're building connections and relationships in the industry, then is it getting easier? Do you know more people to reach out to get the whitelisting? Or
Yes. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee that the whitelisting happens faster. Like, every label has different processes, or that it happens at all. There's some cases where just an email just goes into the void, like, yeah, I'll flag this with the process, and then nothing happens. But it makes it less arduous and complicated a task on my side, because I can now go, okay, I've checked out the latest song from Bad Omens. I was like, oh, Samaria. Okay, I know I have a contact over there. I can email them immediately and say, hi, I've got this video. Is there any chance you can help clearing the copyright? So that just saves me a lot of time, instead of going like, okay, this label, who's the, I don't know. I go to their website. There's a contact form. No one's going to read this, you know. And also what's helpful is increasingly reaction channels or other YouTubers in general are starting to kind of contact each other more and help each other, and go like, oh, I have someone who can help with that. And that's helping as well.
I guess the other big thing is sponsors. Do you have sponsors reach out? And I didn't know this until yesterday because Joe told me, but apparently we get like bombarded. We don't have any sponsors, but we get bombarded with like fake sponsors.
Oh,
Is
weird.
that a thing? Like, do you have to look at which ones are real if you are getting messages?
Good question. I'm not getting many. I've had 2 or 3 only over time. This is something that I would love to have time to go out and try and see, you could look into, but I'm not, I think, helpful, because what's helped is that when I started this channel, I wasn't assuming this is something that is going to be an income. So I'm not really focused on how can I monetize this to the max? How can I get as many sponsors? If there is a sponsor that is interested in reaching the audience that I have, and I think it's a good product or whatever it is, and I think actually the audience would be interested in it, then I will look at, you know, let's see if we can make something work with there, because it'd be great to have more income to support the channel. But ultimately, I really care about what the viewers are getting out of it as well. I don't want to be just like, I'm sponsored by, I don't know, guns. It doesn't, you know, something that's completely irrelevant for what I'm interested in. So yeah, that's something I will at some point figure out, but I haven't had the mental bandwidth to do so, because I've got like kids and job and channel. I'm just doing the minimum I can to keep the thing going and keep it being as valuable as possible. But Yeah, I've not yet seen any fake sponsors, but anything that I have had a query about, I will look into it and Google it and be like, ultimately, yeah. So far, it's ultimately like, thank you, but no thank you. And actually, there's been one where I won't mention them, but there is a headphone or earphone company that have reached out saying like, hey, we're looking for great channels. We think you'd be a great fit for this. Would you be interested in making a review video of our headphones? And I said, I don't do review videos of headphones. Like I do music, but I'm happy to test them out. And if I think I can hear all the details that I can normally in my headphones to make the analysis, then I'm happy to give those a go. But I need to test them first. I can't be just, pick upping some company that I don't think is actually good. And they never applied.
Probably not that good a headphone then.
Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I can't even think of anything that would be relevant that I would want to like.
It can be, I like drinks. Maybe there's a great whiskey.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy to, and as I listen to this song, I'll enjoy it, whatever. But then I'll become an alcoholic because I have to do that for every video. So yeah, I haven't yet figured out that, but I know that for a lot of channels, that's a big part of their income. But I'm not there as yet.
Are there any deals that you do or would be willing to do with like labels where it's sort of like whitelist or introduce me to something with one of the bigger bands and I'll review your smaller bands to help them get?
There's been nothing like that in a genuinely like transactional, transparent way such as that. There might be things where if there's a band, for example, that so I have a list in my head or I've kind of written down, like these are bands I'd love to interview. And maybe there's one that I'm thinking, I'm kind of interested in them. Maybe there's a conversation here. I'm kind of curious, but at the moment I don't know enough about their music and they're on my radar. If they're represented by a firm that also has another band I'm interested in, then if we ask for this other band I'm interested in, they go like, they're not available right now, but we do have this band. I'd be like, okay, I am actually interested in that band. So let's say yes, and I will actually spend time in the next couple of days to dig into their discography, prep for that. Actually, yeah, I'm really interested in them. Then that's the kind of, they could build a relationship that helps unlock another band in the future. But it's never been we're going to hold this back unless you do this. And I don't have any deals with labels in terms of whitelisting at all. And there's nothing about, and I've heard that this does happen. In fact, one of my colleagues, as it were, has had this happen just this last week, where there is a bit of a dangle of, well, we wouldn't really want to whitelist a video if it's not a positive review. It's like, oh, but review's not supposed to, it's supposed to be a genuine, honest review. You would not have us earn money on the content we make because you don't like what we're saying. I understand from a business point of view the risk there, but surely it's better to have what's the word I'm looking for? Reputation of being like, well, we're open to honest feedback rather than, so that's a bit weird. I've not had that myself as yet. Maybe because even if I'm critical of things, I do it in kind of a kind and positive way. I don't know, but so far there's been no like, we'll only whitelist if there's certain kinds of content. And also, you've not asked this, but I haven't been paid to put any particular, well, certainly I've never been paid to put a view out that I don't agree with, or any kind of it. No one's ever paid me to like, oh, we'd like you to think this and mention this. This never happened. And I don't think that's happened with anyone, but I don't know. The people that I know, certainly. But I've also not been paid an amount to promote a band, to go like, well, I'll check this out, I'll put it on my channel. Like I'm very particular that if I put a video on my channel, it's because I want to share this thing. I don't care what anyone else wants to do. This has to be my genuine opinion. Otherwise, what's the point?
That is much more integrity than I'd have.
I'm not even saying like that's the way it should be. I'm like, everyone has their own preferences, their priorities, their own experience, and like it's all fine. Like everyone's entitled to make whatever the fuck content you want. Like that is entirely your call. This is the only way that I would find it infinitely sustainable, is if I'm like, I can stand next to every video and be like, yeah, I wanted to put that out 100%, and I stand behind everything I said in that. Like that's it for me.
So what do you say then the value in doing the reaction videos are for other people, like consuming it? Because it's one of the things that you even mentioned earlier, like people being like, oh, that's cringy. Like people have like reactions like that to it. Why do you think it's actually like valuable content to exist?
I think it's quite simply, is a scalable version of what was already happening in society before. Anytime you discover a new band,
That's such a good
you're just
answer.
like, I want to show everyone this new band, right? But it's not even just, I want to show it to them so they can enjoy it. I want to see them listen to this and be like, it's good, right? Oh, wait, listen to the chorus. And see, did they have the same response that I did? It's the same thing in movies. If you're with a mate, you're like, we should watch a movie. Yeah, sure. And you're scrolling through, and then they're like, oh, I've never seen The Matrix. And you go, what? Well, okay, stop everything. We're watching The Matrix tonight. Not because you want to watch it again. You want to watch them watch it for the first time, because then you kind of relive your first experience. This is just naturally within us as human beings. So what I'm doing is scaling out that enjoyment of watching someone enjoy something for the first time. And what I didn't expect to happen was people would then come to me for songs they've never heard before. Like, I always thought I'd watch a reaction to something I'm familiar with to see someone else's reaction. But I guess over time, people understand what my taste is, what I value. And so if I say, you got to check out this new band, they're amazing. They go, oh, I understand his taste. I might actually like this. And then they watch that. And there's nothing quite like that first visceral experience of something. And if it's genuine and honest, the translation is immediate. And there have been channels clearly that have pretending to, oh my God, it's amazing, pretending they've never heard Alanis Morissette before. I was like, come on. But people can sniff that out. And like the real genuine human response, and actually increasingly with the whole AI world, I think things like this have become more and more important, because something unpredictable and emotional about the human experience is kind of intangible. And that's why the first listen is, you can't repeat it. So that's part of the fun. But then I also just love talking about the music and breaking it down. So I always have a review. Most people drop off the video. They'll watch the reaction, then they're gone. But I want the real ones who care about the nerdy music chat. So I'll chat about why I think it's great, what stood out, why I think it's a good song, not just I liked it. And then for fun, just kind of rate it at the end.
You just mentioned the AI tracks. There was, I can't remember what they're called now, the band that was like ripping off Holden Absence and then have been bigger than Holden Absence. Have you seen that?
No, I only know there was that band called like the Velvet Sunrise or the Velvet Sunset or something. There was some AI band.
What were they called? Okay, well, to give you the context on that then, because I only saw it the other day, like some band went up on Spotify. It's got more monthly listeners and more like listens on the tracks than Holden Absence is, but the dude, like, he's just a kid that created it, like literally put out being like, this whole thing is inspired by Holden Absence. That's what I based it on.
Okay.
And I think Lucas from Holden Absence then shared that, being like, what the fuck, it's doing better than we are. And obviously,
like, Jerry go like, isn't this neat?
He was just like, I mean, I didn't even like see actually what he put. I'm just being told. But yeah, he just like referenced the fact that it was like doing more than the actual real thing was, which is sort of crazy. But would you review AI tracks, and what would your sort of view on that be?
It's a good question. I've not really thought about that. But also, like, there's a strong chance, I think, that at least in the near term, that may have done better. This is a complete hypothesis. That may have done better right now because it's novel. Like, people found out, oh, there's an AI thing, and then everyone goes to hear it. Not necessarily that those songs were better than Holding Absence, for example, or connected with more people. Recently, actually, on the Metal Roundup podcast we listened to, I think it was something like 13 or 14 tracks in a row that we'd never heard before. Some were AI, some weren't. And we had to try and guess which was which. Now, I did get one wrong, but otherwise, we could tell. In future, we won't be able to tell. Like, we just know that that's going to happen. For me, I don't currently have a stance of like, I will never react to or review an AI song, because I'm kind of open to anything that's music. There's a lot of stuff that's out there now that's heavily produced, or maybe even has been AI written and then recorded. Who knows, right? There's many different ways to create music. It's still just music. But what I love the most is something that has a human element to it. So even the most robotic of rock songs, that it's super snap to grid and everything's sampled and sounds, I don't really actually like it that much. So I wouldn't be drawn to checking those out. The same way I wouldn't be drawn to checking out a bunch of songs by BTS in this example. It's like, well, I just don't enjoy it as much. So I'm not worried about me going down that road in future. But I don't really have a strong stance against it, other than I enjoy hearing the production choices and the songwriting choices as a craft and breaking those down. And I couldn't do that if really what I'm trying to do is break down what was the prompt that was written. I don't know enough about that world to be able to comment on it. So I'm just like, oh man, the way that second chorus transitioned into the bridge, that prompt must have been amazing. I think it'd be a weird thing to say. I'm not strongly in either camp. I'm not like AI is horrible, throw it in the bin, but I'm also not like, let's just do everything AI. I think there's going to be something in the middle. It's a tool. Some people will be able to use that brilliantly, but generally I find, and certainly you can hear it in the AI at the moment, the less human and the more vocal effect heavy a voice is in a song, the less I personally connect with it. And I enjoy mostly music that has somewhat emotional connection that I kind of click with than otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's fair then. You mentioned as well you've started your podcast. What was the decision into moving into actually having a podcast in that format?
Is this for my channel?
Yeah, for like your channel.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the one that came first, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I started the podcast on my channel. I can't remember when that was now. Probably 2 or 3 years ago. I think I'd seen other channels having interviews with bands, and I watched a few of them and thought, I think I've enjoyed watching interviews with bands generally because I'm interested in the musicianship and the songwriting decisions and what went into the sauce, as it were. And I was watching other interviews thinking that they're not asking the questions that I would want to ask. It's a lot of like, how have you found the tour has gone? Or, how has the reception been for this album? And I want to know, this vocal hook you put only in the third chorus. Why do you put that only in the third chorus? So I wanted to ask the questions that I weren't seeing being asked. And actually, I have interviewed bands before. When I went to university, essentially to try and be in a band, I also joined the university radio station because I was like, well, I like music and I want to have a radio station. Essentially doing kind of the same thing we do now, sharing the music I love on university radio. And I got the opportunity to interview bands for the radio station. So the first interview I ever did was Alexis on Fire when I was like 19 years old. And then years later, I did interviews for a webzine called Push to Fire. So I was interviewing bands like 4 Year Strong. And so I've done that before, but never as a like recorded thing. So I was like, well, I have a channel. I'm going to start up a podcast to interview my favorite bands and help people understand what goes into the sauce of why this is great music, in my opinion. And we might find out more from these folks. So I kind of took the leap there, and it's been great fun. It's been one of my favorite things I do.
Do you prefer doing them in person or the online ones?
That's a great question. Ultimately, I think you have a better conversation in person because you get body language and you get those verbal cues of, oh, I know they're definitely about to finish talking. Whereas online, you're kind of waiting for your brain's working overtime to read the cues to have a good nuanced conversation. But in person, at least in my world, is so much more difficult because usually I'm popping up a studio in some tiny dressing room in a venue before they go on stage later that night. I'm just like, every environment's tricky. And there's AC here that's really loud, or like there's doors slamming, there's a band sound checking. I'm going to have to use AI to take that. All these things make it more difficult. But ultimately, as an experience, it's better, I think.
What's the typical setup that you take with you?
So I try to make it as high quality as possible, whilst also making it possible to carry it all on my back. That's a trade-off. It's tricky. But essentially, I have 2 DSLR cameras, so high quality cameras, 2 tripods for them. I've got 2 lights, also in tripods I can plug into power. And then I have like kind of Bluetooth microphones I can clip onto each of us, and a backup audio recorder because we've had fails in the past where sound does not get recorded. Always have a backup. And that's kind of it.
Are you using the Zoom as the backup?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a good backup. Well, I had one interview with Coheed and Cambria, which, man, my heart died that day. I finished the interview. It's one of my favorite bands. I couldn't believe I got to interview Claudia from Coheed and Cambria. And it was the most incredible conversation. I was like, that's the best interview I've ever done. Cool, thanks very much. Off he goes. And then I was like, okay, as a sense check, and just watch the footage back. There was no sound. The mics were off for me and for him. It's like, oh my God. And we had this really shitty, tiny, like dictaphone thing, which had its own built-in noise canceling, which really messed with the recording. And that's all we had. But at least we had that. And I used a combination of AI to try and make that work. And I have a friend who happened to work in the movie business doing voice over dialogue work. Like he recorded Bane's voice from Tom Hardy. He's done some amazing work. So I give it to him. He's in the studio setup with my shitty little recording, doing all this nuance, adding some extra room noise to make it like he just wizarded it and saved this interview, which now it's at like 20,000 views, but it really had none. So we always have a backup.
That's insane, man. What's it like doing the interview? Do you sometimes feel like you've really bonded and you're becoming friends? And
good question. I mean, I would never pretend we're like, oh, I think we're friends now. There's a couple of folks where that does happen. And I don't even know how to codify when that happens. But yeah, it sort of depends. Sometimes personalities just click. And then it also depends on after the fact. Sometimes we might have DMs and we keep in touch in a way. But my main focus in an interview, other than beforehand, I do as much groundwork as I can. So I have really good questions. I have an understanding of how I want the conversation to go. But I'm ready to abandon that at any time and just let the conversation be what it is. But when I start, the most important thing I try and do is focus on rapport. I want them to feel as relaxed and comfortable as possible, because then I know I'll get the most interesting answers, as well as it'll be enjoyable for both of us. And I don't ever want someone to feel like they're being interviewed, even though I have very specific questions. Like I want to feel like I'm interested in what you have to say. And that's where we're starting from. So that's always the priority. But yeah, and some of them rapport builds easily. Some, I swear, in the last minute I get it. And I'm like, okay, we had a nice ending there. But yeah, I don't go into it being like, oh, I'll be able to interview my favorite bands and then we'll be pals. Like that has happened on occasion. That's wonderful, but there's never an expectation of that.
do you find that the in-person ones do better, or is there's no difference, like in terms of views online and people's response to them?
I was wondering that just today, in fact, and I don't know. I think it might. I think it's hard to know, because one of the interviews I've done, which is done the best, is an in-person one, but it's with Johnny Frank of Bill Murray at the time when they were touring with Sleep Tokens. I'm like, I don't know that the in-person was as important for how well that video did. More people were interested in that conversation. But I think actually the in-person ones have generally done pretty well, because there is some kind of intangible human thing that happens in a room that actually the camera sort of feels. You're kind of interested to see, what is it like watching, I don't know, Johnny and Nate from The Breakdown in a room with Noah Sebastian? What's the vibe look like? I think there's a bigger curiosity about that than what are they like on a bit of a static Zoom call.
Yeah.
But the reality is, bands are not necessarily in London at the time when they want to do press. And I'm more interested in the conversation and the insights than I am in, it has to be in person because that's going to be a better vibe. Yeah. I mean, that's ideal, but I'm very happy to adapt in order to have the chats that are possible.
Yeah. I mean, we've done 2 that were online, and both of them we tried to keep the setup sort of similar. So we might have just overcomplicated, but we had a massive fucking TV where you're sitting. And then we had like an AI camera sort of over here, so that I could be looking at
the screen,
and it like, because I was trying to make eye contact, and it like, I can't even fucking remember what we did. But like, man, there was so much effort. And then we still had the 3 cameras, so it was cut in between a picture, like the picture of me exactly as it will be in this one, the camera coming at you, being that it's still showing the table and it's showing the screen, it's showing and then it would cut to like their actual feed in the thing. So I don't know if we just overcomplicated, but we thought it was cool as fuck. I'll send you a thing, but we did 2, and they both did really, really bad. One did so bad we actually took it down. The one that we kept up is with Kevin Lyman, who is the founder of fucking Warped Tour. Like, so to me, that was the biggest deal in the world. Obviously, he's in California. I was like, I get to fucking talk to my hero. It's like, and they did just as good on Spotify as everything else, but did so significantly worse on YouTube that we just haven't bothered since. But maybe we didn't give it enough of a chance.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I think anytime you're trying a new format, which essentially that kind of was, you have to be ready for it just to not work. And because like, it's like starting a new channel, kind of. Like when I started my podcast, maybe I'd have a certain number of average views per video in my kind of reaction reviews. And I thought, well, I'll start this podcast. People, my first interview I think was with Resolve. I was like, well, I've done Resolve reaction. Like, people know of that band from my channel. They're going to watch this. But it's actually, no one's looking to my channel yet for interviews. So it doesn't do that well. But you keep going and then it grows and you get better at it and you learn the same way you did originally when you started doing videos. Like, oh, you're learning about, okay, this thumbnail worked, this didn't. Okay, interesting. Let me try and, learn from that and make it better. So maybe just stick at it and you might perfect this brand new way to make that work.
Yeah, we should. That was actually another issue we had was the thumbnails, which that just occurred to me because the feed from their screen wasn't very good.
Yeah, that's tricky.
So it looked sort of ridiculous in the thumbnail having the picture of them on a TV.
Yeah.
But it didn't work cutting them out the TV. It just, everything was a mess.
A challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be interviewing someone online and it's like they're dialing in on a potato. It's the old joke. It's just like how, or just it's so pixelated that I'm like, I can't barely see their face. I can't really read how they're feeling. It's really quite tricky. But
does that affect anything for you?
Yes, but I think I've done enough of them that I work around it. So I will continue the conversation as if I can kind of read their face and just not be done, because I just know with the setup that I have, I use Riverside, which is a great platform for online. I'm not even sponsored by them.
Work.
Oh, it's so good.
We tried Riverside both times with both guests, and we had, I don't even remember what the problems were, but there were problems. And then we ended up just doing it on Google Meet.
Now, if Riverside works, it's great because you get isolated video and audio, and then you can edit whatever you want around that after the fact. But because of how it works, it records my camera and my audio locally to my laptop, and we upload that recording as we're talking, and the same to them. So even if there's some pixelation issues because of internet in the moment, the actual recordings are unaffected by that. But it does require a lot of bandwidth to send our videos to each other and to upload our recordings to the internet. So there's like within Temptation, the interview I did with them, it was like an impressionist painting. It was so pixelated. And I was just reading more from tone of voice, how she was, what she was doing. I was like, maybe she's getting good footage from me because I know my upload speeds are really good. So I just kind of assumed it was all fine. And then watching it back, nothing was affected. But in your head, you have to kind of get out of your own head and be like, assume this is going great. Give it the best we've got. We'll figure it out later.
Do you worry about Spotify? As in, like, you want, like, growing it and putting your stuff on there? I know that your podcast is on Spotify.
Yeah, I don't worry about it. It's an interesting way to put it. And I guess I don't. Similarly, I don't really worry about Instagram or TikTok because my main love, for whatever reason, is the YouTube platform. I really like that.
Do you firmly see yourself as a YouTuber and not a podcaster?
Yes, I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content. I don't even like the term content creator. It's so vague.
Yeah.
I make content. Okay. It's like saying it's a vibe. What kind of vibe? What is the content? But I guess it's because I'm a YouTuber, but that's also very vague. I guess I'm a music content commentary YouTuber. I don't know. I don't have a title for it. So I just say YouTuber. Most people know what that means. And the podcast is part of that. And maybe that's the part I enjoy the most. I don't know. I enjoy listening to music. I could promise I like to do all the things. So I enjoy that. But I put it on Spotify because it's another way for the conversations to gain a larger reach. And some people prefer listening to that on Spotify, but I'm not putting any energy into how can I get the most out of the Spotify aspect of it. I probably should. Now and then I remember to be like, oh, by the way, if you're listening on Spotify, maybe rate this 5 stars or something. But mostly I'm just like, I'll just put it over there because it's another avenue for people to enjoy the content.
Do you find that you can monetize the podcast more?
It's much easier because there's no copyright content in it at all. So that's easy. Just flick it on. But I guess it's not like, it doesn't generally do as well for views consistently as the reaction review stuff because, of course, in part, people come into a reaction review to enjoy the content of the artist. And so that will change, as I was saying before, how many views and the rest. So if you have an artist that people are really interested in, and you have that cleared for copyright and you can monetize that, that's going to do better than a podcast if it gets like a crazy number of views. But the other factor, it's shorter, so you get less ads potentially. So it actually doesn't make as much per view. Podcast can make more because it's a longer video and YouTube loves that. But it depends on how many people watch it. And genuinely, although maybe I shouldn't think this way, I should be a better businessman. I don't care about that as well. I'm trying to do as much as I can at the minimum to consider how can I make this financially viable? Because I want it to be, because I want to do this full time and do it forever. And also feed my kids. So I do care about that to a degree, but I'm not making decisions on what content to make based on how much I think it can be monetized or earned the channel or myself. Like is if I did, I'd only react to the biggest artists that I know I can get cleared from the labels. And I would only interview the most famous people I can in the industry. But I'm really interested in interviewing the new bands as well as the bigger ones that I'm a fan of. So I'm going to do all of that because I want to. And that will make it infinitely sustainable because I'll enjoy the process no matter what the views do. And the money will figure itself out, hopefully.
do the videos break even?
Not every video does not, certainly. Certainly. I mean, for example, I flew to Toronto to go see a gig, and I did a couple of interviews and I reviewed the gig. That didn't break even, but I'm like, that's an incredible experience. That's worth it for the experience alone.
Are there any other experiences like that that you'd look back at and be like, they were the fucking reasons I did it?
Yeah, these are plenty. I had a mad moment early this year where I got to interview Tobias Forge from the band Ghost. And this is a band I've only really this year become a massive fan of. And we'd asked, we're trying to explore them as a potential podcast guest. I was like, actually, he's going to be in Birmingham for this Back to the Beginning thing. Like, they're doing an in-store live Q&A. Do you want to host that? It's like, yes, please. That sounds great fun. So I got to go to this event, and I was the host of the Q&A. I was interviewing on stage with some of my own questions, and they went, the audience had questions. And I rock up, and it's not starting for 3 hours. It's like a ticketed sort of event. If they bought an album, they could, go or something. And there's people queuing outside in the scorching sunlight for an event that I'm like hosting and doing a Q&A. I'm like, this is mad. And then I'm backstage with like Tobias Forge of Ghost. I'm just going, this is an incredible moment that like I'm getting to get a sense of the person that's not, in the videos, the interviews, like, and having conversations. Those moments are mad. Or the first video, as I mentioned earlier, that I ever made for my channel was a reaction to a song by Spiritbox. And then this year at Download Festival, I met the guitarist from Spiritbox because he knew Metal Birb, who's my friend who also came out. And I assumed he had no idea who I was. I saw Metal Birb's chatting to Mike Stringer in the press area. It's like, oh, I'm going to walk over. And before I said anything, Mike Stringer's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I've watched your videos. I'm just like, so that was an amazing like full circle moment. And eventually I was like, by the way, I'd love to interview you for my podcast. He's like, yeah, cool. We'll figure that out. So I've now had him on my podcast, and that was completely mind-blowing. There's been many moments like that. I'm going, how did I get here? And I just think back to myself before I started the channel going, I shouldn't do this channel. I'm no one. No one's going to care about what I have to say. It was just a completely valid point. I was just a guy who was in some bands before that some people, mostly in Leeds, knew and liked. But if you start something and you care about it and you just keep doing it, like posting stuff online, and you keep trying to get better at it and add more and more value and meaning to it, it's going to go into some really absurd adventures. And that's absolutely what's happened. I'd recommend to anyone to have a think about what they really enjoy in life. And I know it's going to sound cringe, but you'll get used to it and you'll get better at it. Like, record your enjoyment of that in some fashion, or make something around it, put it online, keep doing that. Keep getting better at doing that. Learn about how thumbnails work. That lies ahead the greatest adventure in the world.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, we lose a fortune on these podcasts. We don't make a penny.
For now.
But like, for now, obviously the hope is that one day it breaks even. But there's so much value in it for me through the people that we get to meet and the other things that end up coming out of it. And there's events that we've got going on next year that would have never happened if it hadn't have been for meeting the guests.
Incredible.
That introduced me to somebody, or like it's all a knock-on thing. So I think just getting involved and doing that shit is, if you're just doing it because you genuinely enjoy it. Yeah, there's so much that can come out of it.
And that, again, going back to a point I made earlier, that's also the importance of not just chasing what will get the most views. Because if you chase what you really enjoy doing, then the opportunities will happen at some point if you're doing good quality content, right? And they'll be the kind of opportunities you want to be a part of. Like if I just, for example, if I just went, oh man, BTS reactions absolutely bang on YouTube, I'll just do them forever. And it's like, hey, you get to meet BTS. I'm like, okay. Whereas if it's like, hey, you get to meet Mike Stringer's Spiritbox, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, it's really, it's genuinely difficult not to go down the avenue of like, well, it's what, and you tell yourself, it's not the algorithm. It's like, this is what the audience wants me to do, man. And I'm just going to do. It's like, no, make sure you're following what you genuinely like. And that way life's the greatest adventure in the world.
I mean, I guess on that vibe, you've gone into doing your more vlog type content, like at festivals and gigs.
Oh yeah.
Is that a sort of focus that you want to lean more into?
Good question. Yeah, it's actually it's more effort certainly than doing reviews for music, because you go to a thing, I'm taking some footage, taking that. It's kind of hard to translate in words what a live experience was like, and that's kind of part of the trickiness of it. But I sort of enjoy trying to figure out how to translate that. It's way more effort in editing, and I don't have a lot of time because I just don't have a lot of time right now.
And you're still working full time?
Yeah, I'm still working full time at the moment. But I'm going to these gigs anyway. I love going to gigs. I've gone to an uncountable, way before the channel. This is why the channel works the way it does. I would do this anyway. I have been doing this for years and years. I've seen an uncountable number of live performances. I just love it. So I'm going to do that anyway. And if I think it's a notably interesting gig, then I will make a video and review it in that way. Or if it's like a new band saying, hey man, we're going to be in town, we'd love for you to come to the gig and like check it out. I'm like, cool, I will. And at the very minimum, I'll take some footage and say something about it and put on Instagram, if it's not like YouTube, like as a full video. Like I want to as well foster a good music scene. I want to help, especially newer bands I think are great, find an audience sooner than otherwise, so they can help have a financial income that sustains them making this music that I love. So that's a really big focus of mine, and that does not make money, but that's ultimately fuels the future industry, which I think is important.
Do you have a better experience now at festivals because you can go guest area or press area and stuff like that?
Great question. Actually, well, I suppose a little bit, but for example, Download Festival, way before the channel, I'm already paying for guests. I'm paying for the VIP camping because we did it once. I was like, let's splurge out. That we had been to Glastonbury the year before, and Glastonbury is exhausting and difficult as a festival goer. It's just too big and it's tricky. And so we went for this VIP option for Download, spent a bit of money on doing that. And it was so incredible that we're like, shit, we can't go back in lifestyle now. Now we do that every year. So I'm already having a better festival experience in there. This year was the first time I went as press. And like, really, that gives you access to the press area, which is because that's where the artists will be. And there's kind of booths where you can film interviews and things. But there isn't actually any real upgrade in terms of the festival lifestyle there. There's an extra couple of toilets there that maybe are less busy than the other ones. That is it. Otherwise, to be honest, I'm out in the arena anyway, checking out the bands. And that's a trade-off I've had to figure out is I get opportunities to interview bands now at festivals, but I want to see the live performances. And anytime I interview a band, I'm missing a band. So at Download, I did one interview per day max, so I could enjoy the festival, because that is what I love doing. So it's a tricky balance there, but and this is not me being like, I'm one of the people. It's more like I'm not getting any additional lovely situations because I'm, doing press for festivals or gigs. Like there'll be some kind of press lounge, which you can go for some quiet, or maybe you can plug in your phone for a bit, but it's not like, oh, am I behind the curtain? It's all champagne and craziness. Not really.
The other podcast is the Metal Roundup.
Yes.
You do it with two other people.
Yeah.
How did that start?
So that started because we kind of saw each other's channels, because you're aware of other reaction channels that are doing well. And we bonded over our Sleep Token reactions. We all clearly love Sleep Token. And they came over to London for the Sleep Token gig at Wembley Arena. So Metal Birb flew over from Toronto. It's like, well, I should definitely try and host you. Like, you're coming to London, let's meet up. Drew Fortune came from Ireland. So we met up, had some beers, saw the gig, had a great time. And then the day after, I took them sightseeing around London, and we just talked for hours and hours about music and the scene and everything to YouTube. And often we're like, we should be recording this. Like, this is actually really interesting discussions I think people might find interesting. And my brother was with us, and he was like, you guys need to start a podcast. He's like, I've been here enjoying this all day. Like, I would pay good money to hear you guys talk about this stuff, because I like your points of view. They're interesting. You disagree on some bands or things that you care about, but in a way that's civil and not like ragey online. Like, I think there's a need for this, and you guys should do it. And I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And Metal Birb was like, do you really think people want to listen to us? I don't know. Like, he's like, I don't know. And Drew's like, I don't know. And we are all busy full time with our YouTube channels. Like, who has the time to add another one? I'm like, I'll figure it out. Well, let's make this happen. And so we started that. Not assuming necessarily anyone would listen or enjoy it, but that has ended up being maybe the most fun thing I do online. Because we're just really good friends now, and we take the piss out of each other all the time, and we get to have the conversations we love having about how we feel about different bands in ways that are genuinely honest and open, and we sort of support each other in that way, and it's people seem to really like it, but it's just so fun.
How do you pick the bands and the topics that you're going to talk about?
With difficulty. I mean, mostly it's either there's been a really good week or two of new releases where, like, we have to talk about the new EP from President. Let's talk about that. Or Sleep Token. We've had a lot of episodes about Sleep Token. People call us the Sleep Token Roundup for that reason. And I'm like, we have to talk about other bands. Because again, I don't want to be the BTS channel. I don't want us to be the Sleep Token podcast. I want to talk about all of the rock bands. So we're trying to put the reins on that a little bit. But yeah, either there's some news that we think is interesting, want to talk about, or someone suggests like a cool, fun game we could play. If it's competitive between the three of us, even better. Or there might be a guest that makes sense for us to have. So I don't remember how it happened, but like Marcus Vick from Invent Animate sent us their EP that they did with Silent Planet early. He's like, I think we asked him to be on the podcast. Like, yeah, sure. And he sent us his EP so we could review it and chat to him about it. So that kind of happened naturally. We had Andy Copping on from Download. Again, because I think Download Festival just happened. Metal Birb had been for the first time. Like, we've got things to talk about. So it's all kind of natural in that way. And in fact, this last week, we were supposed to record an episode, and we didn't in the end. It's like, we don't have anything of interest enough to chat about. We're not yet at the point, maybe we'll be in future, where we'll record regardless and just chat and chill. We want to, I think because we're such YouTubers, we're like, every video needs to be good. It needs to have value. And if we don't think it will going in, then we won't do it. But that might change.
Do you worry about the consistency if you don't do one?
No, because I think the old school thing was, and I think it was true back then, consistency is everything. On YouTube or podcast, whatever, you have to be there. If you say you're going to be there every Tuesday, you have to be, or people are gone. That's less the case now. And actually, when someone pointed this out, if I think of my favorite channels or creators, I couldn't tell you when they post their videos. I just say, oh, there's a new one? Cool, I'm in. So far, I think it's kind of that. And also, we're new enough that we don't necessarily have enough of a regular listenership that I think enough people would care about that. But we're trying to do it once a week just because it's fun. But yeah, beyond that, I don't think it really matters. Not in the current way that the algorithms work, I think.
Is there much of a workload that you have to split? Like editing and uploading or whatever goes into it?
Yeah, it's not too mad because thankfully once we set up the recording on Riverside and then we hit record, and then I basically I split us up on the layout and I trim the start and end. We upload that. Drew Forger will make a thumbnail. We'll talk about what's a good thumbnail design, what's a good title. My brother helps produce it and he'll figure out chaptering and description stuff for packaging. And then Metal Birb might make a short for Instagram and the rest. So that's kind of it. Although, we're trying to make it as little effort as possible because we've got so much other stuff going on in life. And we don't want it to be a chore. We want it to be that lightning in a bottle. It's fun. So yeah, it's not too much effort, thankfully.
Are you promoting it on Spotify? And I'm trying to grow on that now.
How do you promote on Spotify? I don't really know. No, again, that we put it on, it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. Same with my one, just because we use creators for Spotify, whatever their platform is. Just upload it and it just goes to those platforms. It's just so that it exists in those formats to people that want to enjoy that. But really, again, YouTube is what we care most about.
And most of your listeners coming from YouTube?
Yes. Yeah, there's actually a surprisingly increased number in the last year or so of people on Spotify that do listen to it there, which is very cool. Especially because we're not really putting time and energy into figuring out how to grow that. Maybe we should. But yeah, YouTube is mostly where the audience is, which is fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny for us because Joe, who produces everything and books everyone, is fully focused on YouTube. I've got no interest in YouTube at all, even though I just don't watch podcasts, but I listen to them every day on Spotify. So to me, the Spotify is everything. But then I actually do absolutely nothing to help it. But it is
always something new to grow and learn and improve on. Yeah. If I end up with if I get to a point where I can go full time with the channel, for example, I will be able to have some bandwidth to think about, okay, how can I learn more about Spotify, how that works and improve things there?
Yeah. What would it take for you to become full time?
The biggest blocker has been, it's just finance. It's purely that. But I live in London, and London's very expensive. I also have 2 children. Children are very expensive. So my barrier to entry financially is quite high, just by the nature of where I live and the fact that I've got kids. So I can take less risks with my own personal finance because it doesn't just affect me, it affects kids I'm trying to, build a good world for. So that's the thing really. And it's about it's trying to figure out what is an monthly dependable, consistent amount that you can bank on that is above a minimum survival rate, essentially, because YouTube views are going to fluctuate depending on what bands I happen to be covering that month or what videos I happen to be able to get monetized. Patreon is massive because that is far more consistent than anything else. So that is shout out to Patreons. They're the ones that are doing the most to help me have a consistent, full-timeable outlook. So that's huge. But kind of things fluctuate month to month. Different, Twitch has ups and downs. So I'm just looking at the average, and I need that average to go up to a certain break point where, okay, my family will be okay. And it's tricky, but it's coming.
This isn't one you probably want your boss to listen to, but as your job suffered or the career suffered in any way because of the focus?
No. But I mean, I am a very conscientious person, which is lovely and a burden. I really if I could phone it in at work to do more channel stuff, that'd be great because then I would be not stressed at all. But no, I'm too conscientious and I feel too responsible for doing the right thing. And because of that, I actually had to take 4 days off from everything a couple of weeks ago. I did 0 YouTube. I had to take a couple of days off work. I have completely burnt myself out because I get up, I look after the kids, I do my day job. During my lunch break, I'll do YouTube stuff. Then I'll do the day job. Then I'll look after my kids, get them to bed, and I'll do more YouTube stuff in the evening. Don't really rest, which is not advisable. So I've been going full tilt for a very long time. And I've had a large event that's happened at work that I've been organizing. That's been just so difficult. So but I can't drop the ball on that. I will sooner, and this has happened increasingly recently, not have a video go out on YouTube. I like to try and have one every day just because I think it's fun. There's no real science behind it. I just think it's fun. But I've had to have days where I just don't have a video because I can't do everything. And conscientiously, I'm not going to phone in what is, a good salary job that I also care about.
I'm going to ask you again when we're not on camera. I'm sure you'll say the same thing. What are the plans for the channel in the future?
Well, because I've been so freaking busy, I feel like I'm on 3 treadmills at once. I haven't currently got the bandwidth to think about, at some point this format, I'll try this out. I kind of just want to get better and better at the things I'm already doing. The only thing in the back of my mind, which I almost don't want to say because someone, because like, I'll do that. But actually, I think it's going to be really hard to do for anyone to do this. But I kind of like the idea of being like the Graham Norton of the rock music industry, where I can have 2 or 3 artists from different bands, say, on a sofa in a room together. On it, maybe it's like when a tour comes in, one person from each band, and then we film this whole conversation because they're more likely to have the fun, you never guess what happened in Leeds or our gig stories when they're kind of with each other. It might be a very unique vibe, and maybe have a weekly show or something. But logistically, scheduling that with a bunch of different bands and that would be almost impossible. But I'd love to do that at some point. But really, I love what I'm doing already. And right now, I just want to make that infinitely sustainable because I want to do this forever. If you have these conversations with your friends now and then, if you won the lottery, what would you do? And my answer is just more of this. I would just do all the channel stuff. That is what I want to do forever at the moment.
That would be a really cool conversation. I think the thing you have to do is get in with the promoter, because if the band's big enough, then they'll sell the tickets. So you do 2 days in each venue. So the first night is the show. Yeah, the first night's the show, and the second night is in the same venue, but it's the stage, and you're selling the tickets to the live talk about the tour with the band, and you're hosting it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I haven't even thought of having a live audience to it. Yeah, that'd be dope. And yeah, I guess you just do a double bill in a concert. You buy a ticket to the show, and you get to go to the Q&A for free the other day.
Yeah, you'll charge for that. Yeah, there's no free.
Yeah, we'll figure out details.
I think that would be cool. What advice then would you give to anyone that wants to start on YouTube?
I actually was thinking about this recently, and I've come up with 5 steps.
5
Sounds so
steps,
cringe.
nice.
But they're not really steps. They're like, if you have these 5 things, like, it'll be a success. But really, there's 3 essentials. And I knew this before I started. I knew that my channel was going to do well before I started it because of what I've observed on the internet. Step 1 is do the record yourself, make a video and upload it. Most people don't do that thing. As I said, they had a bunch of reasons not to do it. Just record yourself enjoying the thing you enjoy and share that online. The second thing you have to do is keep doing that thing and don't stop doing it. Because you're going to get fluctuations in views. You might get no one watching for months, years. But if you just don't stop, like, you will eventually find more people and they will kind of grow. I've seen channels that are objectively, I don't think, very good. But if they do it long enough, they can amass an audience of people who like that vibe that they have. Actually, they kind of like the rough and whatever it is. Whatever it is you have that you want to talk about, someone's interested in it. And so if you start it, keep doing it. But the third thing is, as I mentioned here, try and get a little bit better at it each time. And that's learning about, graphic design if you can, if you want to, or like thumbnails, or, because I don't know graphic design, but I'm getting better at thumbnails a little bit, or titles and how to make them spark curiosity, or anything or just talk about how to upgrade your lighting in your room or whatever. Like, there's little things you can do if you're interested in it. Try and make it a little bit better and better over time for the viewer experience. That's more likely to translate in more people enjoying what you do. And if you keep doing it, that will compound. But the other 2 things I didn't really expect until I started the channel was the one about make sure you do the things you really love doing. As I was saying earlier, don't just chase the views. Do the thing you really love, because then you won't burn out doing it. You only burn out, I think, really, a lot of channels seem to do that when they're like, well, this is what the audience wants. I just have to do another one of these videos. And I don't want to do it, but like, that's where the money is. That's where the income is. It's like, you burn out doing that because it's getting further away from what you want to do. And that's pointless. You get one ride on planet Earth. That's it. So do the thing you want to do genuinely. Otherwise, what's the point? There's no point being the richest person in the graveyard. Like, have the best experience you have. Do the thing you love doing. So that is really important. I learned that from BTS. And then the last one is connect with other people, like real people in the real world or online that also like the thing that you're talking about, the thing you enjoy. So connecting with the likes of Metal Birb and Drew Fortune, or like yourself, or the people I'm interviewing, or people in the comments in my community, like that enriches everything to an incredibly fulfilling place that, again, makes it sustainable.
You're very eloquent and charismatic.
Oh,
is that is that natural? You like that before you started creating the content, or is that developed through practice?
I think my brother would say, yeah, that's always been there. It's been really annoying. Yeah, I've been a bit of an extrovert, and I think like the pandemic taught me I'm even more of an extrovert than I thought, because I found that really difficult. I enjoy, I mean, everything that I'm exuding is completely, like, there's no act, it's completely authentically me. I enjoy showing outwardly how I feel on the inside if I'm excited about something, which I think is why the reaction content has worked as well as it has, perhaps. I'm sure, like, there will be some aspect of it where the camera is on and I want to try and share what's going on in my head, usually verbally, like, oh, that's interesting. Whereas if I didn't have a camera on, I'd go, in my head, I'd say, oh, that's interesting. So there's some elements like that I will learn to kind of do just to translate what I'm thinking to the audience. But this is pretty much how it's always been. The only difference is I have learned not to say as much as possible. And that's a skill technique anyone can learn to do. That doesn't come naturally to anyone, really. But through my day job, I've done a lot of presenting and hosting of things, and I've sought to improve my public speaking skills. And that's where I learned about a bunch of the techniques that have made me more effective as a communicator. But I don't think it's to change anything about charisma.
Can you share some of those techniques?
Sure. Don't say But the thing is, the thing is not just as simple as, well, don't say because that, just because you know you shouldn't doesn't mean you can. The only way to not say is to be comfortable with the silence instead of the like this. We're so afraid of silence, but all it does is make every word I'm saying have more weight and value. which is an incredible thing to learn and practice. And think, oh, okay, that's great. So if you concentrate on it's okay for there to be silence, then you won't say It's tricky, right? But it's good.
Yeah, it's and like.
Yeah, and filler words. Because what they do is they undermine what you're saying. So if I were to say, Spirit Box is one of the greatest metal bands on the planet. It's like, okay, you sound unsure about that. But if I say Spirit Box are one of the greatest metal bands on the planet, that has so much more weight to it. All I did was not say or like. Yeah, that's the difference. So it's conveying what you really feel. And what's interesting is people might really feel a strong statement, but their mouth says and like, and kind of like, because sort of, I guess, and it undermines how they actually feel. So if you can master that, you actually are able to have people understand how you feel much more clearly. It's pretty powerful.
And these things, if they came from like I just did it.
It's tricky. Now you cannot stop thinking about that.
From online things or from turning up to things in person?
Mostly online things. Honestly, go to YouTube and just search like presentation techniques or public speaking techniques. But the key is you can watch that and someone can demonstrate the things and you go, oh yeah, I feel that. That makes total sense. But it's different to try it out yourself. That's where you really, because you go, oh, I understand. If I allow the silence, it comes across really powerfully. And you try it yourself. And if there's silence, you're like screaming your head, like, say something, say something. So practice is definitely part of it.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for having the conversation. Is there anything that you wanted to mention or promote to Patreon before we finish?
Yeah, Patreon's great. Yeah, because actually I'm in a position now where when I'm deciding what to put on YouTube, I'm trying to make sure that anytime I put up a video, I want people to understand that I've put it up there because I think it's genuinely valuable in there. So I no longer put up a reaction to something I thought was like, it was okay. I don't have a lot to say about it. It was kind of an all right song. Because that's not worth the 6 or 7 minutes of your time to watch that video. But those reactions do exist, and I put them on Patreon because some people are really interested in all of the takes, and you see some of the spicier things maybe. So Patreon's great for all that. But really, I guess, yeah, the podcast with Drew and Metal Birb, the Metal Roundup, that's great fun. Like if you enjoy conversations like this, that is all that we do over there is we chat about music and about YouTube and industry bits and pieces in a fun way. So yeah, they might be the most interested in that, but yeah.
Are there any ambitions to do those in person? I know you're all split up.
Yeah. So yeah, Burb's in Canada, Drew's in Ireland, I'm in London. We'd love to. I think, we might float the idea to download maybe, because I know some podcasts do some download festival things, but like, I don't think we have enough of an audience in a dense enough demographic for that to work, except for maybe it's something like Download Festival, because most of the country will come to that one spot. Whereas I don't know how many people are aware of us probably a few in London, but I don't really know. And that's like, logistically, that's the thing I think about. But it'd be really good fun, probably. It'd probably be technically quite difficult because then you're worrying about the room and mics and how will I dynamic change in front of an audience? I don't know. I'm up for it. It'd be fun, but I don't think we're like, that's what we really want to do. I think at the moment, we really like the way we're doing it.
I'm going backwards on myself now, but do you get nervous with the bands when you do the interviews?
Rarely, which is very lucky. I very rarely get nervous or get starstruck. I think possibly because I've met enough bands at this stage and before the channel as well, to interviewing people before or just happened to be able to meet them. I've been in bands myself, so I understand on their side of things. There are a couple. Like when I met Johnny Frank from Bill Murray, I was very nervous because they're my favorite band in the world. And Tobias Forge from Ghost, but I think largely that was because I understood the importance of the event and I felt the responsibility of this needs to be good. So I'm like, I need to build some rapport here. This needs to go well. So I was pretty nervous before that one. It was also, I hadn't done something quite like that before. I'd done one with Rise Against actually, but it was still pretty new ground for me to do that in front of an audience. So there was some nerves there, but largely no. They're just people. But it's true. Like we're all just people who on the inside are worried everyone will discover that we're frauds. Like including the biggest band members. They're like, I'm just a dude that plays guitar, man. Like, so once you understand they're all human beings, there's nothing really to be nervous about. I was more nervous about this because I'm not normally a podcast guest. This has been a new experience. So there's some nerves there, but it's been great crack.
Well, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to everyone that's listened. If you want to watch us, we're on YouTube. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.